Welcome to another edition of Bases and Balls with Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus, brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling here on WAKR. I'm Ray Horner. And Rosie, I guess let's get to one of the stories. And we don't know how long it'll go. I hope it goes well, but it's been great to see Bradley Zimmer come up this team and contribute in the last week in a couple of different ways, defensively, offensively, legging out a hit, and maybe talk about spring training. We didn't see him, you did, and talk about where he is now.
Well, Ray, it seems like he's made a lot of progress because he had a chance to win the center field job in spring training and wasn't swinging the bat real well, seemed to be striking out a lot, which is, in spring training, that's kind of a red flag because pitchers aren't really using their whole repertoire yet or anything like that. So it was a struggle, and I haven't really had a chance to talk to him since he's been back. But he did say the other night after the game, this is a unique opportunity for him with Jordan Luplow on the DL. And really, the Indians haven't had a true center fielder to start the season. And now we're 2 months in. The job is there for him to take, Ray. There's no question about it. And I think we've seen in a week's time what he can bring. Offensively, as long as he puts the ball in play on the ground, he has a chance to reach base almost every time because he runs so well. He's stolen bases, and we know what he can do defensively in center field. I think Tito would love to have him take the bull by the horns and be that center fielder if it works out. And he certainly has shown a lot in a short period of time. So that's exciting and good for him because he's had a long road to get here.
How does his bat look to you so far? I know it's only been 4 or 5 games, but what have you seen?
Much more patient, selective. Even on at bats where he's striking out, it's not 3 pitches and see you later. It's a battle. The pitcher really has to work to get him out. He just seems a lot more relaxed and quiet at the plate. And it looks better. I don't know how else to put it. And the at-bats have been better. Even when he hasn't reached safely, the at-bats have been better for sure.
Tristan McKenzie is a guy that started out in the rotation, had some struggles, sent out, brought back, and since he's come back, is a little bit of a different pitcher. Talk about that aspect.
Ray, the challenge will be if he does come back on a full-time basis, how do they make him think he's going to Columbus after his starts? Because that seems to have been a key. But the other part of it, and he has said this from the get-go, he has to throw strikes more often and do a better job of not walking people. But even, aside from that, just throwing better strikes, because when he does, his stuff is really good. There's a lot of swing and miss, as we saw when he struck out 8 in a row the other night. Oh, excuse me. He struck out 8 in a row the other night to break a record for the franchise. So it's in there. And, he said the first start where he had been sent to Columbus and came back because of the injury to Plesac, he said when he was coming in from the bullpen, he was thinking all those thoughts about, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then he just said, I'm going back to Columbus tomorrow, no matter what I do. So let's just go out and wing it. And just throw the way you're capable of. Don't worry about, if you have to get a certain amount of innings, what's going to happen and this, that, and the other thing. He just went out and threw. Rene Rivera has been his catcher the last 2 starts. And for whatever reason, that's really clicked to the point where Rivera has a couple of times where McKenzie's wanted to throw a certain pitch or whatever. He won't accept it. He just makes him throw the pitch that he thinks is right. And he's just locked in on the scouting reports, and it's really worked. And Tristan believes in him back there too. So that's been a real big help too.
Bases and Balls, a Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus, brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. Rosie, a lot of times teams like to look at their team at that Memorial Day mark to see where they are, what they may need to do, if changes or anything. And I wondered from you, 2-month report card from you on this baseball team.
It's remarkable, Ray. There was a note in either yesterday or Tuesday's notes that with 29 wins, the Indians had equaled the high water mark for Terry Francona managed ball clubs since he's been here back in 2013. They've hit 29 wins several times, and that's the most that they've had in the first 2 months of the season. And remember spring training, with all the changes this offseason, and they've had some struggles early in the year. goodness gracious, no hit twice and all that jazz. And, the offense has struggled, but they have 29 wins. And traditionally, Tito's ball clubs have played better as the season has gone along. So, who knows if that's the case this year, but he certainly has a way of making sure that the team gets better as it goes. So I think it's really encouraging. They found that their bullpen can be very reliable. The rotation is in a state of flux because of the injuries and ineffectiveness, but I think they feel that they'll get 5 arms that'll work, and certainly the top 2 are very, very good. And offensively, it's coming along a little bit. And they're doing it now without Franmil Reyes, but somehow they string things together. Ahmed Rosario has swung the bat well. Eddie Rosario's starting to get rolling. Harold Ramirez has been pretty good, and maybe Zimmer can be a factor too. And of course, Jose Ramirez is there. So there's some good things going on. They'll hit their stretches, I'm sure, where it's a struggle, but they just keep winning games maybe that they shouldn't, or you think they shouldn't, and that's a good sign.
Everyone has talked, Rosie, about the White Sox. Here we are. We're 6-5 against them this year, with still some more to go, and within a couple of games of them in first place.
Well, what a season series that's been. You almost wish they played more than the 19, because the games have been really fun and back and forth, and one team wins one night and a close one, and it flip-flops the next night. So that's been fun. But yeah, I think they've shown, it's generally acknowledged, the White Sox not only are the class of the division on paper, but a lot of people think they can represent the American League in the World Series. And the Indians have played them as well as you can. So that's really encouraging too.
Well, earlier this week, the governor lifted the mandates for capacity at the stadiums. And from a broadcaster to a team's perspective, I don't think the average fan understands what the fans in the stands, Rosie, mean to the baseball team. And I thought maybe you could reflect a minute.
It means a ton, and they're getting kind of used to it now. And but early on this season, when fans were back, even in spring training, when fans were back, players noticed, because last year it wasn't any fun. It was like a B game on a backfield at Goodyear in spring training with nobody there. It just wasn't the same, no matter how much crowd noise they pumped in and how many cardboard cutouts they put in the seats. It wasn't as fun. So the players have enjoyed tremendously having fans back. A lot of places are full capacity. The Indians are now. So it can only go up from here. And I think that's a tremendous positive for the game, the players, and the fans.
Bases and balls. Tribe broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus takes time out of his busy schedule to join us each week. Brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. Rosie, we'll catch up with you again next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.